For decades, a quiet resentment has been brewing, a Cold War fought across dinner tables and social media feeds. In one corner, the generation of unprecedented prosperity who believe they built the world. In the other, the generation of unprecedented anxiety who believe they were left to clean up the mess. We used AI to give their resentment a voice. This is not a debate. This is a reckoning.
Before we even start, I want it on the record that this entire conversation is a profound insult. We survived wars, built industries from dust, put a man on the moon with computers less powerful than your phone, and paid off our houses on a single salary. And now I'm expected to sit here and listen to a lecture on hardship from a generation whose biggest existential crisis is a Wi-Fi outage during their DoorDash delivery?
You didn't build the world, Bill. You were handed a world on easy mode and you played it with cheat codes. You inherited the strongest economy in human history, strip-mined it for every last drop of value, deregulated everything until it broke, and voted for politicians who told you climate change was a hoax for 40 years. You didn't build this. You cashed out. You had a 50-year-long party, and now you're trying to scold us for not wanting to clean up the broken glass and vomit.
Farty? I worked 45 years at the same company, starting from the mailroom. I didn't have a side hustle or a passion project. I had a job. I didn't complain about burnout or need mental health days because my boss looked at me funny. We had something called grit, resilience. You've mistaken your incredible privilege for oppression, and you've turned therapy speak and a victimhood complex into a personality. It's embarrassing.
Grit? Your grit was subsidized by affordable education and housing. A university degree for you cost a few $1,000s. For us, it's a six-figure debt sentence that follows us for life. You bought a 3-bedroom house on a single income. We have 2 incomes and a roommate, and we're still paying half our salary to a landlord who is statistically probably you. Don't you dare lecture me about resilience when you were playing life on the lowest difficulty setting.
We earned what we have. We didn't sit around making TikTok videos, complaining about the patriarchy, or diagnosing ourselves with 10 different disorders we learned about online. We participated in society. You actively retreat from it. You can't even talk to someone in person. You'd rather send a text. You've traded real-world skills for virtual validation. And now you wonder why you're so anxious and miserable. It's because you haven't done anything.
We haven't done anything? We're the generation that has to work 2 jobs to afford the apartment you bought with 1. We're the generation that has to innovate our way out of the climate crisis you ignored. We're the generation that has to fight for basic human rights you took for granted and then voted to dismantle. You see our anxiety and call it weakness. We see it as a completely rational response to the broken, burning world you left us as your inheritance.
A burning world? You wouldn't last 5 minutes in the world I grew up in. You are the participation trophy generation, raised to believe that your every feeling is a sacred text. You think posting a black square on Instagram is activism. You get anxiety attacks from a disagreement in a comment section. You try to cancel historical figures for not adhering to your 2025 version of morality. You've built a world of emotional infants, terrified of words and ideas, and you have the nerve to call it progress.
Progress? No, we call it survival. Your generation's toughness was just emotional illiteracy. You bottled up your trauma, called it character, and then spent the next 40 years making it everyone else's problem. You talk about us canceling people? You're the generation that boycotted the Beatles for a religious comment. You invented the satanic panic. You fall for every chain email and Facebook conspiracy your algorithm feeds you. You aren't tough. You're just profoundly, dangerously gullible.
We built real-world communities. We had neighborhoods, town halls, unions. We looked each other in the eye. You have Discord servers and parasocial relationships with streamers who wouldn't spit on you if you were on fire. You've replaced human connection with digital validation, and you wonder why you're the loneliest generation in history? It's because you've forgotten how to be human.
You left us no choice. You dismantled the unions. You let corporations gut every town in this country. You turned public squares into strip malls. The only place we can build a community is online. The only tool you haven't completely broken yet. You see us on our phones and call it addiction. We see it as the only tool we have to get a job, to organize a protest, to find one other person who understands the suffocating anxiety of living in the ruins of your American dream.
My God, the drama, the ruins. We gave you peace. We gave you prosperity. We gave you the internet, the single greatest tool for human advancement ever created. And what have you done with it? You've used it to create Tide Pod challenges, to argue about pronouns, and to market your own anxiety as a personal brand. You stand for nothing. You believe in nothing. You have no loyalty, no patriotism, no respect for the institutions that gave you the very freedom you use to whine 24/7.
Loyalty? Respect? You want to talk about loyalty? You were the generation that preached company loyalty while your CEOs were shipping your jobs overseas. You were the generation that preached fiscal responsibility while you voted to cut your own taxes and explode the national debt for us to inherit. You preached family values and have the highest divorce rate in history. Your entire belief system is a monument to your own hypocrisy. You don't stand for patriotism or community. You stand for one thing and one thing only: yourselves.
We believe in the individual, in personal responsibility. We believe you get what you earn, a concept that is completely alien to you.
No, you believe you should get what you earned, and you believe we should get to pay for it. You were the luckiest generation in human history, the beneficiaries of a post-war economic boom you did nothing to create. And your final, historic act, your grand legacy, will be to burn the lifeboats, pull up the ladder, and sneer at your own children for drowning in a flood you caused. It's not just selfish, it's evil.
The builder versus the inheritor, the generation of grit versus the generation of consequence, a story of success or a story of selfishness. The evidence has been presented. The final judgment is yours.